Yo, so guys, we're live again. We're going to be doing another betting breakdown for you guys. I got Fitz with me. We're going to be doing UFC Vegas 97. And man, I actually really like this card. I feel like it's a really good card, especially for an Apex card. Nice little, appetizer before next week where we got the Sphere card. So yeah, man, what do you think about the card? And, are you excited to be breaking it down here?
Yeah, of course. I'm actually a big fan. I know some fights fell off or got changed last minute, but I'm glad Cody Durden stepped up and saved that fight. I'm not too sad about losing OSP versus Ryan Span. So I still think this is a really good card, especially for the Apex, like you said. I mean, we got two top welterweights in the main event, and just a lot of prospects littered out through the entire card, and a lot of fun matchups, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure, man. And there's actually like a lot of shows going on tomorrow. There's Cage Warriors and Bellator. The Bellator card is fucking horrible, man. Like, I don't know. It's like there's a couple good fights on there, and I got some bets on there. So go to patreon.com/everypictionviewer, check them out. But yeah, man, I feel like the Bellator card is really weak. I do kind of like the Cage Warriors card. Um, and yeah, man, we made some money today on A1 Combat. We've been doing really good on these regional bets on Patreon, giving these out, man. Like hitting a lot of big underdogs. So I've been happy with the results we've getting recently. Kaldar one day, I think he closed like plus 250 or plus 260 or something. And then James Guidry won as well. So two underdog cashes today. We got some Bellator bets tomorrow. I'm gonna look into Cage Warriors. I already got like a couple plays I'm probably gonna put in. So just gotta put the money down on those. But yeah, man, UFC bets too. So check out Patreon. Let's make some money, and let's talk about making money on this card, man. So I'll let you go first on this first fight. Kind of already talked about this fight, I think, before with Nathan Fletcher and Ziggy Montes from Mosca, and the line's definitely kind of tightened because I think people are kind of not really sure about Fletcher pulling out. But yeah, what do you think about the fight and kind of where you're leaning?
Yeah, I was on Fletcher the first time. Obviously, the line is better the second time around. I'm a little hesitant to bet it, because of the mystery, surrounding why he pulled out. He's also the much smaller guy, at the face-off. Ziggy looks a lot bigger, and Fletcher's someone who wants to go in there and use his grappling, so he has a size disadvantage. I think that's something you got to take a look at. At the end of the day, Fletcher will still be my pick, but it's pretty low confidence. Both these guys, both coming off Ultimate Fighter. Ziggy won his fight, but then got injured. Fletcher had a tough fight against Oban and lost, but turns out he had like a broken leg that entire fight. So hard to knock him for that. But I like Fletcher. I like his grappling. He jumps on submissions. If he's 100%, I think he'll go out there and get the win. But there's definitely some question marks, and I think Ziggy is a pretty good athlete. He's a good striker and he's big, physical guy. He's a little wild though. I think Nathan's just a lot more technical. Ziggy sometimes has a crazy output, but it looks like he does have the cardio to back it up. So this could definitely be one where the underdog takes it home. But at the end of the day, I'll stick with my guns and stick with Fletcher. But it's a pretty low confidence pick for me.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree with everything you said. I actually had a bet on Fletcher the first time these guys fought at a worse number, and I'm probably not even gonna bet it. At minus 130. I just he had that leg break and then he had to pull out, and I don't even know why he had to pull out. So I'm really not sure like what the issue was. I don't know if you know, but yeah, so it's kind of a little weird. And Fletcher, he's usually a 35er, so he is fighting at 45 for this fight. Like you said, Ramoski is the bigger guy, so I kind of think it is a dog or pass. But I feel like Ziggy Montes, his style is so kind of volatile. It's hard to bet on him even as the underdog, in a UFC debut type of spot because I think he still has a lot to prove in terms of if he's at this level. And with Ramoski as well, he also pulled out of his fight with the injury too. So I think he probably didn't have as bad an injury as Fletcher did, but both these guys, had to recover and take some time off. And so we'll see. But yeah, I kind of lean with Fletcher too. But this next fight, man, I'm kind of surprised that it stayed on the card here, with how Budka looked on the scales. He missed weight and looked really bad. So I think Petroski probably is in a good position here if this fight goes forward. Dylan Budka, his style, man. I mean, he's not going to be someone that's most likely going to finish you early or something like that. So he has to have cardio. He has to have the ability to maintain a high wrestling pace for 3 rounds. And with a really bad weight cut like that, not being the most experienced guy, I feel like it's gonna be a problem, especially with Petroski having solid grappling and wrestling in his own right. If he can show some resistance early, I could kind of see Budka getting tired like he did in his last fight, and I could see Petroski getting a submission in this one, man. I feel like he's an underrated grappler at this point because he had some hype on him and then kind of lost it all, and he's trying to kind of regain it. He got that win in his last fight, but this one, I feel like if he wants to get back to where he was when he was 5-0, like when he beat GM3 and all that, he kind of has to get a finish here and beat a guy that's 0-1 in the UFC inside the distance. So I kind of like that. I kind of like Budka, or I mean Petroski by submission. It's like I believe it was like over plus 300 at one point. I don't know where it's at now, but I do think that's a viable play there. So, what do you think about that fight?
Yeah, I mean, Petroski is going to be either my most confident or second most confident pick of the entire card. He already was, and then bad miss weight by Budka. I just don't really see the path to victory for Budka. Like anyone, I really don't know how many people are betting him, but I mean, what's his path to victory in this fight? Because I think Petroski is the better grappler. I think he's the better striker. I think he's more powerful, has more chance to get a submission on the ground, and Petroski, I know, kind of fades in fights, has had some bad performances later on, but I mean, with how terrible Budka looks in the on the weigh-ins, how can you trust him at all to push a heavy pace? So I like Petroski here. I kind of agree with you that he gets him out of there. I think he hasn't had a finish in a while. He'll be motivated to get a finish here and make a statement.
Yeah, man. Budka, though, I mean, I will say, like, he actually has decent composure. Like, you'll see him, he's battled out a few, like, tight submissions. So I think if Petroski gets a submission, it'll probably be, I don't know, it's hard to say because I could see Budka, having a lot of issues later with this weight cut, but you'd think if he gets a submission, it'll be like in the first round early on. So, yeah, man, I kind of like Petroski, and I think the under two is a decent play there. But I feel like Budka, if he does win, like I do think a couple people are betting on him, and I mean, I feel like it's kind of just a fade on the durability with Petroski, man. I mean, maybe Budka could land a shot and knock him out because we've seen Petroski get KO'd like in really weird
By
ways.
a hip, yeah, the Malkoun fight,
Yeah,
that was a really bad look.
I mean, at that price, like a money line wise, who knows if you want to, take a risk on someone with a chin like that. But it's not like Budka is gonna go out there more than likely to knock him out. So it's probably a good spot for Petroski, I think. But next fight, Jacqueline Amorim versus Vanessa Dimopoulos. I think the last time we talked about Dimopoulos' fight, we were actually talking about it, and she was fighting Ducote, and I was saying that she's always a good underdog to bet on, man, especially at these prices because she's not good, but it's like when it's female MMA like this, if you have good physicality, you have cardio, and you kind of can hit hard and throw a lot of volume, it's probably going to be really close. And it's like you're getting a good number. So kind of think the same thing again with Dimopoulos could happen. And Dimopoulos had some real questionable decisions go her way where, maybe she could have lost. So who knows if that's going to end here. I do kind of feel like if you're just doing a prediction, you have to favor Amorim. I mean, probably going to hit some takedowns, control on top. Dimopoulos likes to stay on her back and kind of play jujitsu, but I don't know. I have no faith in Amorim. I feel like she hasn't beaten anyone that good. I guess she did beat McKenna, but quick finish, and I don't see her just taking out Dimopoulos in the first round here. So if she can't do that, it'll probably be a close fight, and I would rather have the plus 260. But what about you? What are you thinking with this one?
100%. I'm on the same wavelength. I know Moram's very talented. For me, this comes down a lot to the fight IQ of Dimopoulos because I think she has the ability to kind of keep the range. I know she gives up takedowns and control time sometimes very easily, but I think if she's urgent to stay off her back, she'll have a lot of success in this fight. I think she wins the fight the later it goes on. Um, you know, Part of me is nervous because I feel like it's been a lot of good luck with Dimopoulos. Some fights swinging our way that maybe shouldn't have it if you've really been betting her consistently. And just for me, the line is kind of insane. What has Jacqueline done to warrant a minus 300 line here? It really doesn't make too much sense to me.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're looking at it like Corey McKenna did beat Vanessa, and Amorim like kind of ran through her, but that was a long time ago. I don't think she deserves that price tag at all. Like, it's just because if she doesn't finish in the first round, I think the fight becomes a lot closer to even money than her at minus 325. So if you're looking at that line, I mean, don't you think she would probably have to finish in round one to kind of cover that
Yeah,
price?
or just dominate for 3 rounds and be on top, like Corey McKenna did on Contender Series, and just.
Yeah,
But
I don't see that. I really don't, because it's like she couldn't even. I remember she had to pull guard when she was fighting that Mexican chick, that girl that's like super small for the weight. In round three, she like pulled guard and or like submitted her off her back or swept her and submitted her or something. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think she'll be able to wrestle for 3 rounds. So that's what makes the fight interesting to me. But yeah, so you're kind of thinking the same thing. You're more on the Dimopoulos
yeah,
side.
100%. I'm gonna pick Dimopoulos here at the line. If it's even money, okay, I'd rather be on a Moron, but I mean it's such a wide line here. I think there's a lot of value on Vanessa.
Yeah, yeah, man. So we'll see with that one. I do think it's kind of like Vanessa is just not that good. So it's all I never want to bet her, but it's like you kind of maybe you have to in this type of spot with the value that she has. But Gabriel Santos versus Yijia. I actually really like this fight. I feel like it's a cool fight, cool match between two prospects. And I mean, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, man. I'm a big fan of Gabriel Santos. I'm very confident here, but he can't be taking Yaji lightly. He's a very good grappler, man. If you watch the tape, he's very good. I know they say it every time he fights, but he went the full distance with Gary Tonin, on the ground, didn't get submitted by him. So Gabriel Santos needs to make sure, not to play his wrestling game too much. I know he's a very strong wrestler, but if I'm Gabriel Santos, just keep the fight standing. And he's at a huge advantage here. He's going to pick him apart. And I think this is going to be, finally Gabriel Santos getting his first UFC win.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I like the round two, round three pots for Santos too. I mean, Yijia's a really tough guy, but I feel like if Santos, uses that leg kick and turns up with the combos on the feet, he could have a lot of success. But you look at Santos too, man. I mean, the guy is 0-2 in the UFC. He hasn't fought in over a year, and he's coming off a knockout loss. So,
But
I
I
mean,
mean, he got knocked out really badly in his last fight. So it's kind of
yeah.
almost what you want to see is him taking the
But
time
I
off.
think, I mean, I think he did have an injury though, because he was gonna
Yeah,
fight Weston
scheduled to fight.
Wilson in like January, and then he didn't fight, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's better, maybe. I mean, I think that would have been. I don't think he would have got knocked out or anything in that fight versus Weston, but maybe it's good he took some time off. But I mean, that would have been an easy ass win, him versus Weston Wilson. But I mean, yeah, I kind of agree. I feel like he's gonna have a big advantage on the feet. It's just Yishai is like he does have some sneaky elbows and things like that, and Santos just has to not be reckless, man. I mean, you look at his last fight was kind of perfect. What I'm trying to say, where he was winning the fight pretty easily. I feel like he was winning the striking. He got a lot of takedowns on Onama, but he was just too reckless, man, and ended up getting caught and knocked out. He was coming forward and just eating these big punches. So he just has to get a little bit more, I think, like cage time and just fight IQ and things in general. Because he's really skilled, like you said, he could wrestle and he could strike really well. So I do think he could find the finish in this fight. But I like both guys, man. I feel like Yijia, he kind of got ripped off in his first fight in the UFC. Um, so he's gonna have some motivation here, but I just feel like Santos is probably gonna get the win inside the distance. Both these guys I feel like should stick around in the UFC though. I mean, Nija, if he's like, did he get he got officially signed, or is this like, because this isn't a road to UFC final or anything. I guess he is like in the UFC
Yeah,
now.
he's got to be signed. Yeah.
Yeah,
He had two stints on Road to UFC. I think after the second one, they signed him.
yeah, yeah. And he's to be fair, the Chinese probably is too. Yeah, Chinese government. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think that I mean, both guys are juiced for sure. So we'll see. And talking about juice in this fight, I mean, everyone that's on fucking Shootbox Diego Lima, I mean, all these guys seem like they're on EPO, man. They never die. It's like they'll get exhausted and come back. And Felipe dos Santos, one of those guys. But I feel like I kind of like Andre Lima in this fight. I think he's going to be the sharper striker. Dos Santos tries to brawl and make it wild. He is the bigger guy, but I just think Lima's going to pick him off the jab. He's going to be using the leg kicks, and I don't think he's going to engage in that type of brawl with Dos Santos. I don't really see either guy using grappling too much. I think it will be more of a stand up fight. And I just kind of think Lima's going to be more technical, win by decision. So kind of what I think. I like the line too. I think minus 162 isn't the worst price. I think Dos Santos, he's a little bit overrated. I mean, these shootbox guys, they have really fun styles to watch, and I think that kind of makes people think they're a little bit better than they are. And then he had that really good performance versus Manel Cape, and I think Cape had an injury, and it was kind of an overperformance from Dos Santos in his UFC debut. So I kind of thought he lost his last fight, and I think that Lima will get the W here. So what do you think about this one, though?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I'm really not like super high on either of these guys. I know there are people particularly really high on Andre Lima. I mean, for me, dude, he's like a really dirty fighter, man. Like one of the dirtiest in the UFC. He'll eye poke you, he'll grab the fence. I mean, last fight, he made weight this fight. Last fight, I was just rewatching, missed weight 5 pounds. I know he's known for someone being a dirty fighter against him, biting him, which is terrible, but some people speculate it's because he was grabbing the fence 3 times, and that led to the bite. But ultimately, I do like Lima more here because I think this fight plays out on the feet, and that's just the type of style, Andre Lima with the kickboxing background that he wants to fight. I think both these guys are a little could be low volume in a matchup here. I kind of like playing Lima and the over. I think that's like if you want to do like a same fight parlay, something like that. I like that bet to get some plus money there on the fight, Lima and the over.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I think that'll be a good fight either way, though. It should be fun to watch. They're going to both go for it. But next fight, we got, I believe, the biggest favorite in UFC history here with Isaac Dogarian, minus 2,800, minus 3,300 in some other books. I mean, the guy's a gigantic favorite here. So what do you think? I mean, do you give Brendan any shot here?
I mean, I just don't understand the line. Like, how could he be the biggest favorite in UFC history? I mean, maybe you have a better understanding of it. It makes no sense to me why it's so wide.
I mean, I think. I mean, what way would you say Moroti would win the fight? By knockout? I mean,
Taking over rounds 2 and 3. Dolgarian slows down.
but how? I mean, how likely is that could happen? I don't
I
know.
mean,
I
as
thought
you
I
don't think
saw Isaac.
Moreau could survive one round?
Well, but I don't know. I just don't think. I think that his cardio wasn't that bad, man. I mean, his last fight with C-Rod, the pace was crazy. There were so many
I mean,
scrambles, and
because
I
Dolgarian's
thought,
going to put a crazy pace on anyone.
but
I mean, it's
Dogarian
just
won
an
the.
insane line.
The line's way, way wide, yeah. But I mean, Dogarian, dude, he got robbed his last fight, though. I don't how the fuck could they say that he lost that
Yeah, I
fight?
definitely had I definitely had Dolgarian.
He had like
I bet him.
4 minutes and 30 seconds of control time in the third round or some shit. Like it was like incredible to me. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like Dogarian, he destroyed a guy like Francis Marshall, who's pretty good fighter. He just won his last fight
Apparently,
in
Marshall
3 days
wasn't even
notice.
training for that fight though. Wasn't even training his takedown defense.
I mean, whatever, man. He just freaking he butchered him. He like destroyed his face, finished him in like 1 minute. I mean, I don't know. It's just like Morote. If you're gonna bet on him, it's just kind of I think like a blind shot on him. He does have good training partners to work with in terms of wrestling and all that, but you can't really find many of his fights online, man. I mean, the one fight you could find that was from like 5 years ago with Dan Dubois or whoever that random guy was. That was like a back and forth war where they were both like, it was a 50-50 fight, man. And Brady kind of took over at the end, and then he lost in 20 seconds. I mean, that's all that really I saw from him. And I don't know. I mean, you think that he's got like some solid striking, or like where do you see him having an advantage?
No, in the cardio, in the durability, and then I think he can. Bulgarian. I don't rate his striking too much. If somehow Moreau can stop the takedowns, I think he'll be able to. He's the bigger guy. longer. That's how he was breaking it down to me. He's coming in very confident.
Yeah, I mean, if it stays standing, I guess it could be closer. I do think
But
Dolgari.
even if it goes to the second round, like how confident are you in Bulgarian? You
Nah,
can't be minus
if it goes,
3,000.
yeah, I wouldn't say that, but if it goes to decision, I still think Dolgari would easily win the decision. To be honest, but I mean, because Morote's gonna have to stop the takedown. It's not like C-Rod did get taken down. He just was able to scramble back up like 50 times. You like Morote's gonna have to get back up if he's taken down, and I just don't know if he has that ability, man. I mean, we've seen C-Rod do that against a lot of good grapplers where we never seen Brendan do that. So yeah, I mean it is a crazy line because I think that Dolgarian, people think he's a really really high level prospect, and Brendan, I mean he's just getting thrown in here as sacrificial lamb almost. You think so? We'll see. I mean, if he can make something happen, it would be cool. I mean, it definitely. I think we interviewed on the channel Maria Agapova, and she has like right now she's like the biggest favorite that ever lost. So maybe we could have interviewing the biggest favorite that ever lost, and
It would break her record. Yeah, there'd be a bigger one. So we wouldn't carry that shame anymore.
well, I didn't think we'd have both. We'd have the biggest
Yeah.
underdog and the biggest favorite. But yeah, man. We'll see. I mean, Chris Padilla versus Rong Zhu next fight. What do you think about this one here?
Actually, I like Padilla as a dog here. I think he looked really impressive in his last fight. Rongzhu in his first stint in the UFC was someone I thought to have a lot of potential. I'm just kind of have a feeling that Chris Padilla is kind of going to be someone to come into the UFC and cause some problems, man. I think he's really strong, really physical, and it just looks like to me that he's coming into the UFC at the perfect time in his career as a fighter where he's peaking, right now. So I think he's going to go on a little run here. I could be wrong. Rog Zilli is an extremely young fighter. He was very young when he was in the UFC for the first time, so he's definitely going to be improving, pretty rapidly. But I like what I see from Chris War Taco Padilla, man. In my opinion, I think he gets the job done here with the grappling. In his debut, he took that fight on short notice. I know Lon Top's nothing special, but he was doing well the entire fight, and he snatched up the choke really quick, man. So I like Padilla here, especially at the dog odds.
Yeah, I do think it's a dog or pass on the line, but I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna go with the wrong zoo. I think that he's actually done a lot of good stuff, man. Like he came, same thing as Brendan Marotta. He started to train in Vegas at Syndicate. He's training with Jordan Levitt and some other guys, and it definitely paid off, man. I mean, you see his road to UFC fights. He's fighting some really good grapplers, some guys that are a lot more credentialed than Chris Padilla, and he was able to defend the majority of takedowns. He got back up when he was taken down, and I do think that the stand up will be competitive like early on because Padilla is a lot faster, but Padilla doesn't check leg kicks at all. I mean, if you watch his fight, one of his recent fights, I can't exactly remember who he was fighting, but he was eating a lot of leg kicks early in that fight, not checking them whatsoever. I feel like Rongzhu's really good with the leg kicks. He's active with those. So Padilla early on, he's going to be aggressive and he's going to be dangerous. He's good at getting the back and he has those fast punches over the top. But if Rongzhu can get out of round one, I think he's going to take over pretty clearly. I think that he'll throw a lot of offense. He's going to go to the body. And Padilla, you could tell it, he's not a great boxer. Like in the pocket, he's just winging these big punches. And so if he can move around for 3 rounds and be fast, the striking will be close. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do that. And I think that unless he has a lot better wrestling than I'm giving him credit for, or can take the back early and kind of just end the fight like he did last time, I think that Rongzhu's going to come in and show that experience. Chris Padilla, he hasn't really fought like the most high level guys. You see Rongzhu, he was fighting guys that were pretty good at like 21 years old. He's 25 now. He took some time off. He went to a better camp. He's training in the United States. I think all that's going to play a factor here. And I think Rongzhu is going to be hungry to get this win. He got cut. He's coming back for this first kind of stint back. I think Padilla got 50K his last fight. And I mean, that could go both ways. You see guys that get the money and they restructure their life and they kind of come back even better, or you see them kind of slack off in that next fight. So I think we're going to learn more about Chris Padilla than Rongzu. I think Rongzu is going to come in and show what he usually does, and we'll see if Padilla can kind of step up and be that guy, a big time prospect. Because if he beats Rongzu here and looks impressive, especially if he takes him out early, I think he'll be someone to watch for sure. But yeah, man. I mean, so are you? So you're gonna be betting on Padilla? You think? You think he'll
Yeah.
win by submission?
I actually probably favor decision. I think Rongzu is pretty tough. I think he's able to control the fight with the wrestling, get some takedowns, and I think the stand up will play out fairly close. But I think Padilla will have the moments. Maybe rock Rongzu at one point. I think that the cardio is going to hold up for Padilla.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's gonna be the story of the fight. I mean, I don't think he doesn't have too many fights that are really like tough fights. So we're gonna see. I mean, this will be a. I think if Padilla wins this one, it'll be a pretty big statement. But uh, I don't know, man. There's a lot of streams that'll be on tomorrow, but the fights are on tomorrow, bro. But yeah, the next fight, Trevor Peek for Chanel Ashmouche. What do you think about this one here?
Yeah, man. For me, it's really tough to read this fight. I can't be confident in either side, honestly. This is probably the toughest fight for me to pick on the card, just because Trevor Peak is so wild. You never know what to expect. I'm not too high on him. In terms of wanting to bet him. Even at a line like this where it's a close line. I'm not a fan of either. In his debut, he had that big upset win against Sam Patterson, busted a lot of parlays, but. In my opinion, Patterson was just, depleting himself, making 155, and did what he had to do, took advantage of that. But um, I'll pick Peak to win here. I think he has the ability to mix it up. I think he might pressure really hard in this fight. Have some more volume. But I mean, does have some really good power. And Peak. His striking defense is atrocious. Some of the worst we've seen. I don't know if it's possible to put Peak out, but Yanal's going to be punishing them, tagging him. So it's just highly volatile. I really want to stay away from this fight, but ultimately the pick will be Trevor Peak. But don't bet this fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I mean, I see certain people. I think a lot of people are actually betting Ashmuse this week, and I'm gonna go with yeah. Now, I just feel like he's better everywhere, man. I think on the feet he throws, straighter, tighter punches. Trevor Peak, he's just real wild. He has the cardio. Neither of these guys have been knocked out, and you can see they both have really good chins. Like they'll take big power punches. So I think it'll be a war. Like I don't know if someone is going to get knocked out here. It'll be a battle. I feel like. I mean, obviously either guy has the power to do it, but more than likely, I think it's going to go to decision. And I just think Ashmush is going to be landing a little bit crisper shots, and I think he's the better grappler too. I mean, Trevor Peaky, I think is maybe a little bit bigger, but Ashmush to me has more weapons in the clinch, and I think he'll be able to just be a little bit sharper, more technical fighter overall. I mean, Peak is going to try to push the pace, but if you look at Ashmush, I mean, the guy looks like he's in great shape. He took some time off and came back, and his last fight, he did break his arm in like the first round. So I think that could have played a pretty significant factor. So I'm kind of thinking that Ashmush gets the W here, but yeah, man. Next fight on the card, we got a really short notice fight with Cody Durden stepping up, and I mean, this line to me is kind of crazy. I get that, Matt Schnell, he has a really bad chin, but I don't know. I can't have Durden at like minus 290. The guy just got knocked out like 6 weeks ago by Bruno Silva. He's coming in here on like 3 days' notice. I just don't understand that line. Matt Schnell isn't like terrible fighter. The guy has good straight punches. He's going to be the more technical striker, and Durden obviously he has good striking. He has a lot of power too, and I mean I feel like ultimately my prediction is going to be Durden by knockout. I just think that's what's going to happen, but I think that Matt Schnell has a chance to submit him. I think Matt Schnell could knock him out too. So I feel like this is a lot closer to a pick 'em than where the line is at, especially with Durden just being knocked out, coming in on such short notice. I don't really get the line, but what do you think about it?
I completely agree. I think it's way too wide. Forget the fact that Cody Durden just got knocked out. Forget the fact that he's taken the fight on short notice, a couple days' notice. We've seen Cody Durden submitted, what is it, 4 times in the UFC, and Schnell's nasty on the ground. He has really good submissions. I know in his last fight, it's a really bad look. Someone Schnell, who's going into the fight with Ursang has someone, who the durability is highly questionable already, and then he gets completely flatlined by Ursang. You know what I mean? So I think that's why pretty much if Schnell's fighting any of that upper echelon of the division, he's going to be a heavy underdog. Snell's also huge. He's a lot bigger. I think this fight being at 35, might be something that favors Schnell and favors him down the road. This might be his more natural weight class, help with that durability. I think at the line here, it's worth giving Schnell a shot. Cody Durden, I am a big fan of him. Good striking, good wrestling. I don't think he wants to wrestle here because I think Schnell could definitely snatch up his neck. I'd just rather be on the guy with the full camp, at the plus money, and the bigger guy, with that submission upside. I think Schnell's a good bet, another live underdog I'm liking this week.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I will say Cody Durden, he definitely has gotten way better with the submission defense too, though, because he went to ATT. He started training with like Pantoja and all those guys, and you watch like his fight with who's that? The British dude that just won.
Jake Hadley.
Yeah, bro. He like was in some super deep submissions, and he was able to get out. If you remember from that fight, so but yeah, Schnell's really slick off his back. Like he has a lot of triangles and shit. So it'll be fun wherever it goes. I think that there's definitely some upside for that fight not going to decision, but the line isn't that great. I mean, I see it's like a minus 180, so I'm not sure. I think Schnell money line isn't terrible though. But next fight here we got Kyle Nelson versus Steve Garcia, and man, not feeling as good about this one, man. I like Kyle Nelson in this fight, but he missed weight, man, and I feel like that could be a significant factor because he's a huge guy for 145. I feel like for a while it seemed like he got his nutrition on point, everything like that. He was making weight easier and he was going 3 rounds pretty hard. But if you remember earlier in his career, he went up to 155 because he was, struggling with keeping the cardio because of the weight cut. And now he missed weight. So I'm just a little bit worried about him slowing down here. But yeah, both these guys have been streaky, man. It's a really fun fight. Nelson and Garcia, I think neither of them have lost in their last 4 fights. And I do feel like Nelson is better everywhere in terms of sharpness. I think he has a good counter boxing style, which should be effective versus Garcia. But Garcia is just really good at creating chaos, getting in the pocket and landing that kill shot. Both these guys are really durable, and feel like Nelson, if he has the cardio, he could mix it up and grapple. I mean, Garcia, when he gets taken down, he doesn't know how to get back up. He always exposes his back, and Nelson could definitely take advantage of that. So I still kind of see it as a dog or pass, but the fact Nelson missed weight, I mean, Garcia, he trains up there with Jackson Wink at elevation. He's always pushing the pace, man. He's always has his cardio on point. So that kind of is making me a little nervous. But I just think Kyle Nelson's the better fighter, honestly. He's been fighting a lot better opponents too. And I feel like he can get the job done here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really was looking to bet Kyle Nelson. It was one of my plays I've been targeting, and then the weight miss really has thrown me off because exactly the point you brought up. I mean, he's someone who has spoke about how he needed to get his nutrition correct, and he directly correlated to that. Being part of that win streak, and now a 2.5 pound weight miss. That throws a lot of questions out there. I still, Steve Garcia, he's won me some money recently, but there's a lot of questions about him, in my opinion, So for him to be a favorite against a guy like Kyle Nelson, who I think has been fighting really well, I want to be on Nelson here. Garcia's gotten dropped by a lot of guys. He has great durability. I think that's part of, shows the type of shape he's in to be able to recover, which is why it's just, too much of a question mark for me to bet right now with the weight miss. That's too much of a, factor that I don't know what's going to happen because Steve Garcia, I know, is going to come in good shape and I know is going to push a crazy pace. So Kyle Nelson, if he's not fully prepared in the best shape of his career, Steve Garcia is going to win this fight. I really believe, unless Nelson knocks him out early, because if Kyle Nelson can't, maintain a high pace, maintain the pressure, of Steve Garcia, he's going to be in for a long night, in my opinion. So, I think this is a fight where you should it's going to be super entertaining. Just watch it. It could go either way to have your money on it. It's a little too risky, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I totally agree. I already had a bet on Nelson for the weigh-ins, and I kind of want to hedge out, but probably just gonna let it ride,
I'd
you
let
know.
it
But
ride.
but yeah. I mean, that just threw me off because I do feel like Nelson is better everywhere, and I kind of feel like he's gonna get that early knockout. But if he doesn't, I'm definitely gonna be nervous for sure. But co-main event, we got Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva, and for me, this is another dog or pass fight here. I mean, I've actually heard from a few people that Jessica Andrade is having a really good training camp where she's been looking really good. She put in a lot of work. She's going to be, on point in terms of her head movement coming forward and closing the distance, apparently, from what I've heard. But, you've seen Jessica Andrade fight so many times, and most of the time it's always that static pressure where she definitely takes a lot of shots to get inside. And Silva, she is powerful. She has good movement. So it's going to be the difference in the fight. I feel like Andrade's last fight did a really good job where she had good tactics, man. I mean, she used those leg kicks early, kind of made Rodriguez a little bit more stationary, and then was able to pressure. And if she can get in the pocket with anyone, even I don't care if this fight's at 125, 135. I mean, she's gonna probably have the power advantage in that type of fight in the pocket. So I just think it's a close fight, but I don't like the fact that Andrade's fighting at 125. I think she's definitely better at 15s. But Natalia Silva, like her last fight, I feel like it wasn't the greatest performance where she fought an opponent in Viviane Araújo that's older, like Andrade, that isn't as good. And she dropped the first round. She got taken down. She got out wrestled in that round. And if Andrade can get into the clinch, she's more than likely going to be able to hit some takedowns here. So I just feel like Andrade is the side betting wise. And what do you think about it, though?
Yeah, I think the line's just a little too wide for me. I will be picking Natalia Silva. I'm a huge fan of her, huge fan of her talent on the feet. Andrade is just someone who is really good and will always fight for your money. I just don't know if I can trust her to go out there and have a grappling game plan at this point in her career, and trust her to get takedowns consistently. Natalia Silva is going to be bigger, taller, lengthier, and I think, like you said, the range on the feet, the movement, it's going to be too much for Andrade. I'm on Natalia Silva all day. Just, the line's just a little too wide, man. I wish it was closer to like a minus 200.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely feel like the line is off. I don't get how. I mean, Silva last fight was really close with Vivi, and I think Jessica Andrade would knock Vivi out. So I think it's a interesting fight. But main event: Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. Who are you leaning with in this one here?
Yeah, I'm gonna be betting Sean Brady here. I like him. I like how he bounced back. I know, the fight against Bilal, even though Bilal was a champ, Sean Brady really dropped the ball. That was a terrible performance, even though he's fighting, the top in the division. He bounced back, really good performance against Kelvin Gastelum, in my opinion. And, I think Gilbert's age is finally going to start to show. I think he looked a little bit, smaller than he normally does on the scales, not as defined. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I like Sean Brady here as a younger fighter. He's going to use his physicality, be able to get takedowns, in my opinion. On the feet, I think it'll be pretty close, but I like Sean Brady here to take over. As this fight goes the distance.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I like Sean Brady. I'm gonna pick him, but no confidence in this fight, man. I mean, you're looking at Sean Brady. When he's fighting these other grapplers, like when he fought Chiesa, you see like he struggled to control him. Third round, he's gassed out. He's getting rocked and hurt. His nose broken by Chiesa, who's not a good striker at all. Obviously, the Bilal fight got pressured, couldn't get the takedown. So that's going to be the game plan for Gilbert Burns all day. I mean, he's going to have to bring the pressure, probably going to have to eat some jabs. Brady does have some fast hands. You'll throw some sharp punches, but if Burns can take that power in the jab and stuff and keep coming forward, put damage on Brady, I think it'll be a close fight. And as far as the grappling goes, I mean, that'll be interesting for sure. Because one thing with Gilbert, he's really good at attacking the legs, and with Brady, he is gonna have to be able to stop that man and be able to control on top where it's not kind of just 50-50 with a lot of scrambles. Because if he's just in top control doing a bunch of nothing, it could just be a weird decision. But I think there's going to be a lot of stand up in this fight. Honestly, I think that Brady's going to come in here trying to box, and Burns is going to just try to make it real ugly. I don't think he has the striking technicality, like boxing wise, to compete with Brady, but I don't know about Brady over 5 rounds either, man. I feel like both these guys could gas. It could become real ugly fight. So it's just a weird fight for me. I feel like Burns is kind of at the tail end though. He just lost 2 in a row, and you'd think Brady would get the jump on him here, so that's why I'm gonna go with Sean Brady. But I just don't have a lot of confidence in Brady. I feel like he's one of these guys that he doesn't have big finishing upside, and he has a real cardio taxing style. So if people can make him work, it's going to be a harder fight down the stretch, especially with 5 rounds. So I don't know. I feel like that fight could really go either way, honestly. But we'll see, man. I had fun breaking down this whole card with you, man. Next week we got pretty good fight card, man. Actually, honestly, I'll say I don't think the card's that good, but we got a hyped up fight
A great
card.
event, though. They're gonna put on, just for the value of the event, and the fights are gonna deliver, man. It's a, not to get into it too much, but I agree it's not the best. But Dana, wanted to make it for the Mexican American heritage, so I think it was important, getting Mexicans in most of the fights.
Yeah, yeah. I mean they did the same thing last year. I actually went to that event last year, and that event was sick. I mean, there was a lot of real cool fights. But I think they could have done a better job. But yeah, man, I mean, the main event, it's one of the biggest fights they can make. So definitely going to be looking forward to that. And I think we're going to have Lucrative MMA jump on the channel next week to a breakdown with this. He hasn't done a video in a while, man. So I was talking to him. Hopefully we could get him on, get some more guests on the show. Kind of didn't do it for a while. So came back. We're going to try to do it more consistent. I know I said that a couple times, but we're gonna get this shit going. It's my fault, man. Sometimes I'll be doing some shit, kind of off track. But yeah, man, we're gonna try to go hard for the rest of the year, get guests, and give you guys good content. So thanks for jumping on again, Fitz. Shout out to you, man. Everyone, check out all the interviews. We're gonna be dropping interviews, hopefully more. And Fitz doing a good job with those interviews, man. So I enjoyed the Brennan one, the Keelan one. So maybe we'll see if you can go 2 for 2 on the interviews. We'll see. This will be a big one. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on. And if anything you got to say before we close it up.
Peace out, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Enjoy the fights tomorrow.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, guys. Peace.